Hopefully you had a productive and safe Labor Day weekend. It's now time to go back to work. But this is the fun stuff. Actually, we're going to hang out and talk to a really special person today. Before we get started, though, speaking of work, I want to thank my buddies at 5 Star Guitars in Beaverton, Oregon for supporting the show. Even though they're based in Beaverton, Oregon, you can shop for guitars and get great deals anywhere in the world. They have no sales tax in Oregon. So you can go to www.5starguitars.com, hook yourself up with a great deal, get some repairs done on those guitars that you may have smashed through this COVID pandemic, and get some lessons from pros like Jennifer Batten. You can do virtual lessons or you can actually do in person. So thank you, 5 Star Guitars. When you go to www.5starguitars.com, make sure that you thank them. Let them know that All Access Live with Kevin Rankin sent you. They would appreciate it. I'd appreciate it. And I want to share the world with them. Now, I also want to thank Audix Microphones based in Wilsonville, Oregon. They've been supportive of me as well. We've got some great opportunities coming up for streaming and live performance events. So we're going to talk about that once we iron them out. But thanks to Audix, I've got great headphones, great microphones, and great guests. So with that being said, let me tell you, over the course of this All Access Live series, I've had over 100 guests. I've talked to so many people in this industry, whether they be actors, whether they be musicians, oftentimes drummers. Everybody seems to know my next guest, and they all tell me, you've got to talk to him because you have so much in common personality wise. And I've been a huge fan of listening to his story. He has done so many Grammy award-winning records. He's done so many live performances. He's huge in the country music industry, but he's also an actor and an author and a session drummer. So we're going to talk about it all, and we're just going to have fun with it today. So with no further ado, please welcome my bud, Rich Redmond. Thanks for being here, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me. Oh my God. Yeah, we do have similar hair. We're defying gravity, and you are super outgoing, man. So yeah, I can see how this would work.
Hold on a second. I got to get one step closer. All right, we're going to do this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And right. The matching purple.
There we go. Yeah.
Dude, I'm having surgery tomorrow. I'm having a cataract removed in my left eye.
Oh,
it's like,
man, we were just like saying, we're going to talk about positive stuff. We're not going to talk about aging.
A cloud in my eye.
Oh, if that happens though, do you have, are these prescription glasses? Is that what you're wearing right now?
These are prescription glasses. I guess I realized how blind I was in the 5th grade when the teacher asked me to read the board, and I said, read the board. You guys can see that?
Oh no, back then even, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, man. So, the interesting thing is that it's become sort of hip to have glasses now, right? But in the rock and roll world, which you grew up in, it was kind of, it was tough to pull it off, man. So did you have contacts or anything like that?
Oh yeah. When I was getting my master's at the University of North Texas, I finally said, I have got to get contacts. So I think I was 23 years old. And, I have that very strong thing that goes back to the dawn of man, that protection, knee-jerk reaction. If somebody's coming towards your eye, you're like, get away, so I really had to practice to get good at putting contacts in. And now this is a thing where they're going to cut open my eyes and they're going to put in lenses that should last until my deathbed. So hopefully everything will go.
Hundreds of years from now, you'll be taken care of. Do you know Mike Vanderhule?
Yes, from YNT.
Okay, from YNT, yep, yeah. I don't know if you caught his videos right around Christmas or New Year's. He had a gig in Vegas, and a stick broke and popped him right in the eye. It actually tore his retina, and so he or it tore his cornea, I guess. And
is he okay now?
Not only, he's okay. He had surgery, he had taken care of, but there's video of it. He has video with the GoPro right behind his head, and it pops himself in the eye. He drops that stick, reaches down. So he's playing left hand on the ride back to snare while he reaches and grabs another stick and keeps playing, doesn't miss a beat. Every once in a while, he's trying to rub his eye as he's playing. And the guy's kind of turned around for a second, but I was thinking, we've all had crazy drops during the gigs, but to rip your cornea and then still keep going without missing a beat, I was impressed.
Did he finish the show?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And he was on tour having to find a doctor that could go in and do retinal work. So yeah. So cheers to Mike Vanderhule. We love you.
Yeah, that's strong.
That's right. Man, before we even get started, I try to avoid this being kind of an interview. A lot of people know who you are. A lot of people in the country world may not know about your rock and roll connections too, man. Yeah. I listened to podcasts you talking about like the Santana connection. This is insane, right? Was that your first like super like award-winning multi-million-dollar selling track that you recorded on?
Santana. I mean, I wish I had done that. You might be confusing me with someone else, but
Was
I'm
there
just trying to
not?
think.
I
Well,
would
over the
first.
years, because of my relationship with Aldine, I was able to work with the Brian Adams and the Bob Segers and the Kelly Clarksons and the Lou. And these are just situations where, it's like one day of work or one television show appearance or one award show. So
Yeah.
the guys come in with their posse, you high five them. Sometimes they know your name, sometimes they don't. You get on stage, you make music, and sometimes you see them again, and sometimes you don't. But no, Santana. I had that Abraxas record, man. When my parents had the Columbia Record and Tape Club,
Oh,
1 penny for
yeah.
a record. Remember that?
Of course.
Um,
Yeah, man.
but no, I do have rock and roll roots. I tell everybody I'm an overeducated rock drummer. I ended up kind of going to, me and Sutter and Riley and a lot of these guys, we kind of went the the Greg Bissonette route, which
Right.
was like overeducate yourself, get your feet wet, playing a lot of different kinds of music, get your reading together, get your styles together, go out into the world and hope for the best. And hopefully you'll find something either that you can continue as a freelance drummer to go from one thing to the next with as much of a smooth transition as possible, which those guys all have done,
Right.
or you meet a singer-songwriter or recording artist that you can hitch your wagons to. So God bless it. I've been on tour nonstop for 16 years, been playing with Jason Aldean for 21 years. So that was
21.
kind of like my goal in life, was to meet my version of a Billy Joel, a Mellencamp, an Elton John, a Sting, or a Bono. So I found that guy in a young Jason Aldean, and we championed each other. But yeah, I mean, little did he know he was getting a rock drummer. I mean, when I started playing drums, I was like really like Elton John's Greatest Hits Volume
Yeah.
1 was my first record, and then I moved into Nazareth, playing along to Love Hurts records and try not to make it skip, and then the Police hit with Synchronicity, and then Van Halen 1984. I was a rock drummer.
Yeah.
But I just, after school, I was going to maybe move to sunny Los Angeles and go after like rock and pop and smooth jazz gigs. And I just ended up moving to Nashville and auditioning for people and getting gigs around 1997. And I just stayed here.
97. Okay. So yeah, the rumor I had heard was that you ghost drummed on like that Smooth track with Rob Thomas. And so it was.
Oh, I played on a bunch of demo recordings at a Warner Chapel writers camp. So at these writers camps for 1 week, they would take guys like the guy that wrote Smooth.
Okay.
His name is Ital Schur, and he's like
Okay.
a big hit songwriter. And Jewel was there, and Stan Lynch was there, and Robbie Neville, C'est La
Wow.
Vie was there. And we were the session band that they paid us $100 a day and 2 meals to like wait around. And when somebody had a flash of inspiration, they would bring the song in and we'd have to play a demo.
Yeah.
But it was great because you're in the hot seat.
Right,
You're
man. That's
responding in the moment to someone's new creative juices.
that's beautiful. I'm sure that Nashville honed those chops, and having to be able to just show up and be able to maybe go to an open mic and play with like international superstars and hold your own. Well, you mentioned actually moving to Nashville versus going to sunny LA. Where was home for you?
Well, I'm originally from Connecticut, so I'm like a Connecticut kid, New England dude. I raked leaves, I had a paper route, I shoveled snow, a lot of great Italian food, a lot of family, Sunday gatherings. And then when I was 11, my dad, Richard Redmond, he is an accountant, and so his company moved him to El Paso, Texas. And for 20 years, he'd go across the border over into Juarez, Mexico every day and run the factories that made Victoria's Secret's underwear. So
Oh,
I know the secret.
yeah.
I gotta lose that joke. I do that on every interview. But basically, we moved to El Paso, Texas, when I was
Okay.
11, and that was great because anybody that's listening right now that is involved in the culture of Texas music education, it is the best state you could possibly be in to be a music educator and to be a student, because there's pep bands and concert bands and jazz
Right.
choirs and lab bands and marching band is a massive thing, because of football. And that's how I got my chops together, playing with those Dennis DeLucia tree trunks,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, so it was actually a great thing.
Man, with Texas really being the formative roots, when you sort of got into the teenage years, I think it was probably a natural progression then to go on to North Texas, to go to university there, and all these pros. I mean, you talked about Bissonette being sort of, I remember him leading that charge, right? And my college professor from Montana State actually was at North Texas right around that time too. He was a initially a real snare driven drum corps guy, but he was also marimba was his big thing. And so orchestral percussion was his more than drum set. And for drummers, I know an old student of mine, we just talked the other day, he went to Berkeley as a 15-year-old for the summer program wanting to play drum set. And he got there and they said, so what kind of music are you into? He said, Latin music. And so they said, okay, great. So they put him on congas, bongos, and timbales. And he was so sad, right? He came back after the summer program singing, man, I'm a drum set guy. I could care less about playing those things. And I said, so did you learn something? He goes, oh yeah. I mean, I learned every Latin style. And I said, and as a summer program, as a 15-year-old, what you just got right there was a world of education that you never would have gotten at a place like, say, PIT, right? Going to MI, having that focused time. And so as somebody who is both, a well-educated drummer like yourself, but you're also an author and an instructor, have you had a lot of young drummers that had the same sort of aspirations that you had come in and say, is it important for me to go to school like in North Texas to study music, or can I just go into this thing full blaze and make a music career?
That's the eternal question. And I mean, I'm sure we both get asked this question with our students or people that we consult with, or when we do, back when the world was different in early March, you could do in-person clinics and master classes, and how things have changed. But that is the question. It's like, hey, do I have to have a college degree to be successful in the music business? And it's such a baited question because there is no golden road. There is no solid rules to make it, air quotes, in the music business. But hey, if you have the wherewithal to get those loans, you're willing to pay back those loans, maybe your parents are willing to help, maybe you can get scholarships. It's 4 years of your life. You go in at 18, you come out at 21. You're still an incredibly impressionable young human being. Yeah. And now you have something that no one can take away from you. And while you're there, you're learning about time management, organizational skills, working as part of a team, jumping through tons of hoops. I mean, I got 2 music education degrees. Did I care about learning hot cross buns on the violin and the French horn and the clarinet? No, absolutely not. Did I care about spelling out words on a field with human beings for a football halftime show? No, but I showed up and did those things with a smile on my face because I knew I wasn't going to be able to get my degree. And the sooner I got that darn degree, the sooner I was going to be able to go to New York, Nashville, or Los Angeles and really chase my dreams. Yeah. And it's also 4 years of you're putting off reality. So I had help from my parents. They said, Rich, you get A's and B's, we got this for you. You're going to not have any college loans. Wow. Nice. And so I went there and I treated it with the utmost of sincerity. I was very methodical. I was very driven, and it was a great, great time for me. And what I ended up getting was like 2 North Texas style degrees, which are, there's an emphasis obviously in drum set performance and pedagogy, but at the same time, you got to pass all the timpani, snare drum, rudimental, 4-mallet, jazz, vibraphone, all that stuff. So if times were ever hard and I decided that I didn't want to be on a tour bus anymore, I can move to small town America or wherever the college is, and I could be a percussion instructor at a 5A high school or a college. Sure. Do I want to do that? No, I like the life I have. I love recording and I love touring, and I've created this thing for myself where that I kind of enjoy. But I think that experience gives you this outlook on life where you can put this thing into your bag of tricks, and then there's less deficiencies in your playing. So I went to a camp one time, and Steve Houghton, we were doing like spang, spang, a lang. And so he starts you off with spang, 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 and subdividing, and then you add the lang, and then you start to speed up. And then we were trying to get in some ding, 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 all that stuff. And he's like, Rich, you really got to buckle down on this. And it's because it's all finger, know? And so when I was at North Texas studying with Ed Sof and Henry Oxtel and Doc Shatroma and Ron Fink, these guys were on me. They rode me like Seabiscuit every day for 2.5 years. Right. Yeah. And now that's in my back pocket. And so I think that's important. Do you need it? I don't know. There's more vocational programs. Like I do some teaching at the Drummers Collective in New York City, and I do some teaching usually twice a year at the Musicians Institute. And they're programs that are like, all right, kid, it's like 2 years, you're in and out.
intensive,
whatever that
focused.
is.
Yeah.
4 semesters, 6 semesters, and you're done.
You know,
right?
Yeah, man. I mean, like having that sort of compressed education, I would think could be really helpful to people right now. You know, when we're looking at ways to overcome adversity. I mean, you've been the king of that. You know, I would think it's remarkable that you continue to maintain this positive attitude. Dude, you've been hit with all sorts of adversity. I mean, I think about Nashville, you know, with the amount of like weather issues that you guys have had this last year, you know, and, you know, Portland, we got hit with the storm last night and people are struggling because their power is out 12 hours, you know, but out there, tornadoes, man, you guys got hit with it all. And then COVID came in a city that's completely dependent on live performance and recording. And you've got a great contemporary group of dudes that I think, and maybe women too, who knows, like that have really, I think, been supportive of each other. When I think about going to LA and the competitive nature of things, I've seen it happen both ways. And I'm sure you have too. Somebody will show up in town wanting to get to that point of a gig. And so they'll try to walk over everybody on the way to get there. And when I talked to the Chad and Rachel in Cloverdale the other day, they said, oh yeah, you know, we would see now that we've been here long enough, we can see the people that have that look in their eye. They'll walk in and not have any interest in contributing to the community. And there's a network of people, I wouldn't want to call it a clique, but people that I've talked to that have gone to Nashville, they run with their tail between their legs after a few months because they can't get a gig. They're not getting asked to sit in at the Bluebird, or they're not getting asked for session gigs. And they didn't go in with the attitude of, how can I contribute to this scene and fit where my piece is an integral part that can contribute to somebody else, you know, instead of really thinking about how they can make everybody else's scene better. They're thinking about how to get their next gig. So when you show up in Nashville, another friend, Kelly Keegi, was there for a long time, man. And only, you know, relocated. He's got great family going on right now. And but I know that he's one of those kind of guys too. Kelly's dear-hearted man. You can tell he's a family dude. When you show up in Nashville, was it a shock to the system to have to compete with so many people, or did you know anybody there that was a good landing spot for you?
I mean, I think it works out like for any, you know, city. They say most of these creative cities are 5-year towns. They could be 7-year towns. They could be 7-minute towns. I mean, you could get off the airplane and you could be at baggage claim and you could strike up a conversation with somebody and it changes your life forever. It wasn't quite so fast for me. I mean, I had a plan. I had my cassette demos and I had my little printed Dead Tree EPK and my business cards, and I had a smile on my face and I was ready to do it. I was really full of piss and vinegar, man. I was going to do it. But I knew I was a lifer. I knew I was committed to the long game. And I think that's what really, you just have to, some people say, I'm going to give it 1 year. Some people say, I'm going to give it 5 years. And if nothing happens, I'm going to go back to working at UPS.
Right.
You can't have, it's just, you got to say, I am here and I am doing this. It's like a comedian, you know, most comedians don't respect the guys that are like, I've done 2 open mics. And they're like, oh, how cute for you. Kid.
Right.
I've been eating sweaty cheese sandwiches backstage for 20 years, going from town to town. And was I in a rush? Yeah. I was coming from a scene where I was like one of the top drummers in Dallas, where I was playing on McDonald's jingles. And I was in the cool top 40 band and I was playing all the time and I had established that, but no one cares in New York, LA, or Nashville about what you did in little Dallas, Fort Worth. They just want to, like, okay, first of all, it's like, most people don't respect anybody that is not in Nashville for at least 2 years.
Okay, that's the
700 days.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But it is difficult. It's a really difficult thing. But I think if you're committed to the community and lifting each other up, I think more than any music city, Nashville has a very, I mean, the community is pretty strong. People are lifting each other up and writing songs every day at 10 a.m. and drummers are throwing each other's names around for gigs, and it's a great place to raise a family. You know, I've got a foot in the Los Angeles scene. I got a lot of drums out there. I got a beautiful girlfriend that lives out, so I split time out there. I don't see as much going on around town there. I feel like you're either on a bus. I was talking to Tommy Clufetus, you know, I saw him do this gorgeous drum solo with Ozzy. We actually opened up for Ozzy at Sturgis about 8 years ago. It was hilarious.
With Aldine?
Yeah.
Oh my
It was
God.
like Jason Aldean, Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, wow.
And I got to see Tommy's, gorgeous arena rock drum solo, no shirt, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, in LA, you're either on a world tour or you're one of the few guys that are playing on, like Bernie Dressel and Greg, that are playing on Marvel soundtracks, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
but here you can kind of play around town for a little bit. You can jump on the bus with a country artist, a contemporary Christian artist, and the style of touring we do is really only Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
And then during the week you can try to ingratiate yourself to the existing guard that is musicians that bring songs to life. And then of course nowadays you have to have your own space where you can record your own tracks. But this is the deal. Like, some people will go out, they'll spend all this money converting a garage, floating floors, buying the best of gear, maxing out credit cards, and they don't know how to get the clients. Like, how
Right.
are you going to play drums for a person if you don't have a viable network, if people don't know who you are and they have to know you, like you, and trust you?
Absolutely. So
Right.
huge. I mean, the trust part that you just mentioned is so key in this industry, right?
Yeah.
If you're like me, I know that you get asked all the time, hey, how do you get those gigs? And I oftentimes will tell people, you should be asking yourself how you keep those gigs too, because the relationship that you build with somebody is so key. And there's a quote that I love from Jim Carrey, who gave this keynote speech at a graduating marketing class. And he said, the effect you have on others is the greatest form of currency there is. And,
Yes.
Essentially talking about in this industry, if you're not a great hang, there's no way you're going to stay on the bus with a band longer than one short run, right? And the reputation that precedes you has to be about the relationship you have with the artist, respectful, and the trust that they can have with you. So you talked about trust. You knew your capabilities showing up in Nashville, and because you'd actually done some jingles and some of the professional recording stuff, you knew that you could hold your own, it sounds like to me. But not having something built in, and you just show up with your suitcase and you're ready to go. Were you going out every night, just shaking hands and meeting people and just wanting to be familiarized with the scene?
I probably went out my first 12 years, if not more, in Nashville. I've been here 23, 24 years, and it may have been even longer, where it's like, if I was playing a gig, I would go out afterwards and see other people's gigs. And if I wasn't playing a gig, I would go out, and there's these watering holes. We have Douglas Corner, the Sutler, 3rd and Lindsley, 12th and Porter, the Exit In, the End, and then all of Lower Broadway, where there's on both sides of the streets. Like, there's only few places in the world that are literally this exciting, where sometimes they'll stop traffic, like maybe on 6th Street in Austin, where they'll seal off the streets and people can wander the streets, and there is live music. We're talking 17, 18 hours a day, 365 days a year in every club. So there's opportunities to play in this city, but I didn't know anyone. I really didn't. I mean, I only knew the couple of people that had been the band leaders for people I auditioned for. I auditioned for Trisha Yearwood, Dina Carter, and Barbara Mandrell, flying in from Dallas, and I met the guys in those bands. And of course, I reached out to those guys, and then I opened up the Yellow Pages and started calling, DJs, churches, event planners, party bands. I was passing around my cassette demos. I mean, I was hungry for it, because I didn't have a lot of money saved. And money is a thing to think about. I mean, a thing I say, like, hey kid, if you can save 5-10 grand in college, or go do a cruise ship job for 1 year and then go to New York, LA, or Nashville, it'll cushion the blow a little bit. You won't have to worry about getting up at 6 a.m. to go make coffee, make copies, work in a cubicle, like, just to have a little bit of peace of mind. I didn't have that, man. I moved here with just like, oh, something will happen, I'll get something. Now, I moved here on a Tuesday, and I had my first paying job on a Saturday.
Really? What was that gig?
Now, that gig was a variety band called Paul Ross's Cadillacs, with a K.
Okay.
And it's one of those bands with, a rhythm section, everybody in tuxedos, a modified horn section, and then 3 chick singers and a guy singer up front.
Okay.
And then you're playing salad music.
Yeah.
And then you break out the Motown and the stacks as the tables are being cleared. And then by the end of the night, you're playing YMCA.
Okay.
And you do it with a giant smile on your face. Now that job paid me $150. So if you're living, say, even just at the poverty level, hoping to make $12,000 a year, you know many of those $150 jobs you have to do,
right, just
to pay the bills,
several a day,
right? So then but then you have to eat crow and go, yes, I have my master's, yes, I have my tens of thousands of hours of experience, but I'm going to go wait tables, I'm going to go make copies, I'm going to go park cars, I'm going to go be a kindergarten teacher, which I did. I was a substitute teacher, K through 12. And then I realized that most of the kids I was impacting K through 3. I felt like I had more of an impact on the younger kids before puberty kicked in. Once puberty kicks in, they know everything.
Yeah.
And they're like caged animals. And so I was like, okay. So I would play in the clubs till 3 a.m. and then be in front of a classroom at 7 a.m. You just do the things you have to do in pursuit of your dreams, you know?
Well, I would think that, and I don't know how long you've been doing it, but the speaking that you do with like the corporate events, you can really touch on following that passion, no matter what career path you've taken, right? So is that an angle that you take when you go in there, you talk about finding motivation and doing whatever you have to do to find passion?
Sure.
You want to talk a little bit about how you got into that?
Well, my space and a lot of my colleagues that you've had on your show, we're kind of in the edutainment space. Yeah. So with a kind of an emphasis on the entertainment side of, so different speakers will have different things. Some people are really good at talking about leadership or disruption or sales, and they specialize in those lanes. I kind of incorporate all those things into my talks, and my talk is customizable. So if I'm talking to a pharmacy company, I have a meeting with those people. I find out what their goals are for that quarter or for the year, what new products they have, things that I have to touch upon. And then if I'm talking to a farmer or, a big farming convention, that's my girlfriend, Kara. She's a fashion designer, and she's here in town to make sure I don't die from my eye surgeries. So nice. That's good. But anyways, my talk is always based on crash. And so I don't know if people like acronyms or not. Some people hate acronyms, but it's just an easy way to remember these 5 concepts in life that will work for anyone in any season of their life, which is commitment, relationships, attitude, skill, and hunger. You can use any of these exclusively. You can use a couple of them. If you use all of them together, it's a great winning combination to be successful in life. So now if I'm going to talk to school kids, I'm going to talk about how they need to commit to their schoolwork, because their schoolwork is going to determine if they're going to get into college or what their career path is going to be. We talk about relationships, and I say, I usually make them laugh. The school kids, I say, you are sitting next to potentially your future ex-husband or ex-wife. And then they start laughing. And then I talk about attitude and enthusiasm, how enthusiasm is contagious and how attitude is the one thing people will always remember about you. And then I talk about the skills that we need to cultivate to do whatever we want to do in life, and to always be learning new skills and not, die on the vine. We want to be evolving and growing and changing and working on staying relevant. And then that hunger, that passion that you have that burns in your belly, you put those all together, and it's a success formula that'll work for a bass player, a soccer mom that wants to be a better soccer mom, somebody that wants to join the NASA space program, somebody that wants to start their own business, somebody wants to climb the ranks at a Fortune 100 company. So I've been doing it for over a decade, and it's always super satisfying. And the only challenges sometimes I have is wearing multiple hats is if somebody calls me to do a keynote speech to end a convention, say, on a Saturday night. Sometimes on a Saturday night, I'm playing for 24,000 of my closest friends in an amphitheater with Jason Aldean. Now, playing with Jason Aldean for 20 years gives me permission to do the speech. You know what I mean? Because people go, why do I want to listen to this guy? Because he's been gainfully employed with the same person for that amount of time. Maybe there is something I can glean from this person. So absolutely. So the name of the game is really just kind of like wearing a lot of hats, but nowadays you can't be a jack of all trades, master of none. You really have to be a master of all.
Right. As best you can. And,
as best you can.
And finding at least the talents that you do have, hone those, and really, because obviously you're a great communicator. You've talked about the different sort of branches that you've gone into, acting and writing books and education, and all those things are traits and talents, gifts that you have that you've actually worked on quite a bit. You take good care of yourself. You've got good business decisions that you've made. Let's think about some of the mistakes you might have made that you think, okay, yeah, you know what? Had I done things differently, I probably wouldn't have gone down that path. You have any of those you want to share?
I would probably say, people say all the time, like, great career advice, never burn bridges, which is awesome advice, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do you burn bridges? Well, you can burn bridges by showing up late, right? You could burn bridges by being unprepared. You can burn bridges by talking poorly about people and forgetting that the music business and the community, not only of your city's music business, but the entire world is very small.
For sure.
And then sometimes if you have to pull out and you have to send a sub, sometimes the best thing to do is to try not to ever pull out in under a 2-week period.
Okay.
But whether you send someone before or after that 2-week period, you better send somebody that is equally as good as you, but most importantly, maybe even better, because you don't want the band or the recording artist to go, wow, Redmond really saddled us with this stinker of a guy who was unprepared, right? And so you want to just make it like a seamless thing. So which really feeds into this whole idea that we have all the power in the world to check all the boxes. Be over prepared, be well dressed, be on time, which means to be on early if someone's paying you, and being able to take direction with a smile on your face, like all this stuff. Have great sounding gear, and then people will start to talk about that stuff. So I pride myself on never having intentionally burned a bridge, but there was one person in my second year in Nashville who somehow I burned a bridge with. He was a recording artist, and I had to pull out of the gig, and I sent an amazing sub who did all the homework, and the guy still held a grudge against me and has never called me since. But at the same time, maybe this guy isn't even in the music business anymore. Right. I mean, I know for a fact a lot of people that I moved to Nashville with, they're like, see ya, I'm out, you know, because moving to Nashville in 1997, let's think about this. This is like over 5 presidencies. A lot has changed, not only about our music business globally, but the way Nashville does business, the musical trends. Our fair city of Nashville is not the same. It's not hay bales and wagon wheels and hot dog stands and souvenir shops for country music fans that come to town once a year for fanfare. This is a major city that Amazon is planting, and the state bird is a crane, and it's just production, and everything is going up, So some people just are not good at jibbing and jabbing and surviving the changes,
over decades. But really, you think about the last 6 months. Right. And a lot of what you just talked about is really great advice for somebody that has taken a step back. I've talked to so many people who really let the adversity kick their ass, and I'll be honest, sometimes I take on the weight of that with some of my friends that are on the show too, because there's so much out of our control. Right. So if you let all the stuff that's out of your control get on you, what's the use, right? I mean, because you could watch the news and get so caught up in all that stuff and really feel that weight and feel like there are futile efforts to try and do anything with music. Or you can find something to do to channel your passion, your energy. You talked about the acronyms, the CRASH acronyms. If you're no longer able to step in a van or on tour bus and go out there and do those gigs, but you've got some sort of fire in you to be able to be creative in whatever realm, taking those concepts, I think, is a fantastic way to look at how to bob and weave so that you can do something productive.
Yeah.
I have this sort of thought about the trajectory, right? If your aim for whatever you're wanting to do in a music career or anything else is, that your Everest is, your final legacy, right? And if you keep the trajectory going in that angle, right, on that direction, even when things like global pandemics come, as long as you're trying to hit base camps along the way, and not just give up and hop off the cliff, but if you just, sort of like keep the aim there and look at progress being a big thing. You don't have to have Everest, but you can hit base camps along the way.
Yes.
For me, I'm not a motivational speaker. For me, I just have to have that in me in order to keep inspiration and positivity. And a lot of people I talk to are really needing that too, because they don't see even that direction right now. All they see, especially if they're watching the news and they're getting caught up in, all the negativity, then it's detrimental to their progress. So you're in a city that is so competitive. You're in an industry that's so competitive. It's fantastic that you've got a great gig. And I want to know a little bit more about the relationship you have with Aldine, because there's got to be so much trust and respect and appreciation for your commitment to him. How did you end up getting the gig in the first place?
Well, thank you, man. I do appreciate it. I think everything that we do in the creative arts, whether it's your, the 15th violinist in a symphony orchestra, or you have a power rock trio that's a Rush tribute band, or you have a band that plays the Holiday Inn, or you're teaching drum lessons, or you're an actor, or you're a speaker. Everything I do requires people in the interaction of people. Right. And I think that what we're going to determine, and I'm not always really happy about this because I love being in a room with people that I know, like, and trust and love, and I have history with. We're probably going to see that some of these virtual events, like this year, the Percussive Arts Society National International Convention is online. And we're going to determine that, hey, is the NAMM show that really people love going to in Anaheim year after year after year, and they've got their big hotel bills and their bar tabs. Ouch. It's going to all go online. Is it going to be more productive? It may be less fun, but it might be more productive, because what's the point of that thing? The point is for people to connect and to showcase musical products to the marketplace. Right. So what was the question?
I was asking about the relationship you have with Aldine, but I should tell people before you continue, I was going to let people know there are some people that watch this show that don't know what the NAMM show is. This North American Music Merchandisers acronym is this huge event that happens in Anaheim where over 100,000 people get together. Some people use it as just an opportunity to party, but the amazing network opportunities that are there. They've got 4 huge buildings full of all of the gear that you could ever possibly imagine: drums, amps, keyboards, everything that you could possibly imagine. And oftentimes there are these breakout sessions where you can talk to the manufacturers, or you get somebody that talks about being a professional in this certain industry. And there's a lot of education you can get out of it. And it's great to be able to showcase maybe small businesses that are doing something interesting. Like my sponsors, 5-Star Guitars, have been honored many times in having this really groundbreaking model to sort of compete with the big box stores. And I think for me, the first 2 times I went, it was all about the party. I loved the magic of being able to see my favorite artists up doing, you'd see a combination of the greatest bassists, guitarists, singers, drummers, all in one room playing some kind of jam. And you would never see that anywhere else. But to add to sort of tie into what you're saying, maybe there's a change that needed to happen. I think that's what you're kind of getting to, is that,
it's so crowded, that thing is like, I love seeing everyone. I mean, my whole point of going to the NAMM show usually is to literally go from booth to booth of all the people that believe in me as a recording drummer, a touring drummer, and an educator, and just give them a hug, see the new products, thank them, take a picture with them. It's just this thing you do. Sometimes just cute little, I worked my way up to being someone that somebody would actually want to go to a meet and greet with. So I'm at the Remo booth and I'm sitting next to Mel Gaynor, who played on, the Simple Minds from the Molly Ringwald movie. Right. And we're chatting. And then I'm next to a dude that's Don't You Forget About Me. And I'm sitting next to a guy that's playing in some hot new indie rock band that's on the cover of Rolling Stone. And I'm in the middle of all this. And you're reaching out to Remo's customers, which are guys that are in circuit bands. There are guys that are weekend warriors. There are guys that have just drums in their garage. And by the time I say hi to all those manufacturers and I get stopped a million times in the hallway just trying to go to the bathroom or get a pretzel, 3 days have come and gone. You
Yeah.
know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
But
Imagine how many times you've had less social distancing between you in all that time, you know? So
that is a COVID nightmare,
it
the
really
Anaheim
is.
Convention
Well,
Center.
people get so sick anyway, right? And the
Well,
Namthrax thing
I
is
get anthrax every year, no matter how
yeah,
much sanitizing you do.
yeah,
I mean, I guess you could wear a mask at NAMM, but I mean, it's like,
yeah,
anyways,
yeah. So
enough with
Jason
all this.
Aldean,
Yeah, Jason Aldean. So, he was a fired up young man who was influenced by classic rock and the band Alabama and a lot of soul music from Macon, Georgia. He's now in the Macon Hall of Fame, the Macon Music Hall of Fame. You know, right there with
wow.
Otis Redding and the Allman Brothers, which is like crazy. You know, you reap what you sow. He had a fire in his eyes. I met him through our bass player Tully Kennedy and our guitar player Kurt Allison. I've been playing with Kurt for 24 years. I've been playing with
Nice.
Jason and Tully and Kurt for 21 years. And it's just this unspoken thing, like Aquaman and the fish. It's like telepathy. When you are around each other that much, not only on stage and playing television shows and making records and doing showcases, but all the travel of like working your way up from the van to the
Right.
first dilapidated bus that would catch fire, to a decent bus, then to a bus and a trailer, and then to a bus and a trailer and another bus for the crew. And then before you know it, there's a semi that gets that. Then there's 8 semis. And then it's like, but it didn't happen overnight. It
Of
was like
course.
a slow, gradual, like when you're going up the roller coaster, you know, a lot of people are like, come on, you want to go, yeah, throw
Yeah.
up your hands. But it's the beautiful part of cultivating a career in the creative arts is the climb.
Yeah.
And you always want to be climbing because once you get to the top, there's only one way to go. And
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
down. And you
Right.
will meet the same people you meet on the way up, and you will meet those same people on the way down. So you have to
Yeah.
choose your attitude, your enthusiasm, your actions very wisely. But this relationship that we have is just an unbelievable thing. It's like one of these things that happens once in a lifetime. It's lightning in a bottle. So when I read the stories of my buddy Liberty and his relationship with Billy
Oh,
Joel, or we talk about Kenny and his relationship with
Mellencamp.
Mellencamp
Yeah.
for 17 years, or you talk about our friend Mark Schulman and how long he was playing Feels Like the First Time with the Foreigner
Right.
guys. This is this unspoken, beautiful thing that can happen from surrounding yourself with like-minded people. So,
Right.
you know, we had different musical tastes. We were all slightly different ages. You put us all together and it was like, you got your peanut butter in my chocolate. You got your chocolate in my peanut butter. And it was freaking candy, man.
Yeah.
You know, it just worked
Yeah.
out great. But it's very rarefied air to be able to know that I'm going to go get on a bus every year and bring those songs to the people. And they wait outside that arena at 8 in the morning, tailgating. By the time they get into that venue, they are ready to go.
Yeah.
And we have a big responsibility because sometimes there's people that literally they spend half their paycheck coming to 20, 30 shows a year on the tour. I don't know how they afford it. And then there's also those people that are coming for the first time. They've never heard us play Hicktown live. Now, I've probably played Hicktown thousands of times, but I have to make it that song. I had sounded Italian for a second. I have to make it that song. You have to make that song feel and sound like I'm playing it for the first time.
Sure. Yeah. You know what, man? The humility is so nice to hear you say that. A lot of artists take that stuff for granted, you know, and if you really look at the people that are paying our bills, now, of course, you know, you're getting a paycheck through Aldean, but the people that are paying your bills are all those people that are showing up at the shows that have spent their paychecks to get there. And I think I'm so impressed by musicians, whether they be the songwriters or any participant in the band, that will take the time to recognize and observe those things. You know, I know that there's backlash for a lot of bands that do a meet and greet, a paid meet and greet after a show, right? And there are two schools of thought about it. I mean, I talked to the folks in Y&T. You know, we talked about Y&T earlier. They tried so hard not to do paid meet and greets because they've been going out talking to their fans for 30 years after shows. You know, they would at least go out and try to have some part with their fans. and they didn't want to do paid meet and greets, while other bands, all the other bands from the era and the genre, were doing some packages. And they realized, we don't have a retirement plan. There's no 401k here, right? So we've got to do something. How can we incentivize a meet and greet thing where maybe we can have people buy a special ticket and come and watch our sound check and hang out then, right? And
all that stuff is beautiful, man. Break bread with the band. Like, I mean, the guys in our band, we don't have to do meet and greets. It's all Jason, because it's his name. It's his thing. His name is on the marquee. And so he's got that responsibility of buying the bucket of hand sanitizer. Right. And then the tour manager is like, snap, takes the pictures. And you're trying to keep the train rolling, you know? But I mean, there's a lot of people. Look at Gene and Paul. I mean, say what you want about Kiss. There's people that have no problem paying $1,000 to go back and to spend 5 minutes with Gene and Paul and take a picture and get some sort of, and it's just, the music business has changed. And I think that fans ultimately don't hold that against their, we gotta eat,
Right. Yep. So, no, I think the only time that you really break, you burn that bridge is if you say, this is our farewell tour, we're never coming back, and we'll sell you a meet and greet package, assuming that the band's never coming back, and then they do, but I think the humility part of it, being humbled, whether you do paid meet and greets or not. But I've seen the way that, like, our friend Schulman, Mark Schulman, I've known for a long time.
Sure.
He was working and living here in Portland quite a bit. Last time he came through with Pink, we went down, we hung out day of show. After, we just had some time before a sound check. And so we're on the street, and outside on the street, there are tons of fans that are waiting to see Pink, hoping Pink comes out, but he has a little satchel he's got with some sticks, sometimes he carries a little 8-inch or 10-inch like rack tom head. And people will say, oh my God, Mark Schulman, can I get an autograph? If he runs out of stuff, he was taking people's addresses to send them like a drum head in the mail.
That's nice.
It's a beautiful thing. And,
sure.
My favorite thing on the planet to do is when kids are at a show. If some family has decided to take their kid, buy a ticket and come out and see a show, it's the greatest thing to be able to spend some time with them, because you know that they're inspired and it's a fun thing. When you think about being a kid going to a concert, how cool would it have been, right?
I love the kids, man. I'm not a father. I mean, it just never happened with all these crazy, all this stuff. But it's like I mentor and teach a lot of kids, and I just enjoy, maybe being the spark plug for them, and then watching them develop and grow and grow into their own beautiful things. And hopefully this is all going to come back, and they're going to get to feel that thing, that rush of that crowd, and I say, look, treat every gig like Madison Square Garden, and you will eventually play Madison Square Garden. Just approach it with that mindset. But no, I love the kids. And if I see a kid in the audience, I'll give them my sticks. Actually, my favorite stick tossing moment was in 2006. We were still an opening act. We were opening for the Rascal Flatts. We did, I think, 3 tours with them where we had 18 minutes in front of them. We had 28 minutes in front of them. And then eventually I think we had 45 minutes in front of them. So this was, I think, maybe at the 30 or 45 minute mark. My parents came to see the show. And of course, usually when your parents or somebody super important in your life comes, hopefully you're allowed to give them a comp. And then there was a small thrust. And at the end of the small thrust was my mom and dad, who Patty and Richard, who believed in me in 1976, got me drum lessons, sent me to college. If I needed a China boy, they bought me a China boy. They paid for my drum lessons. They believed in that. They didn't say, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer, don't do this. And so who knows? I said to myself, this could be the last time my parents ever see me play. So I tossed those sticks out to my parents. And now here we are 14 years later, they've seen a million shows since, right? But tomorrow is promised to no one. So that's why when Warren Zevon was on David Letterman, and David Letterman said, any advice or any parting thoughts, because he was terminally ill at the time. He said, enjoy every sandwich.
Oh yeah.
That's great advice.
Remember that interview.
I'm a sucker for a good sandwich, man. You give me a BLT or a panini. My girlfriend just made me an amazing tuna on toast today.
Okay.
I mean, that's one of those things where, like, in life, you're just like, yeah, man. I'm enjoying sunsets more. I'm enjoying a lot more things because I don't know. I think that age brings wisdom, and
Sure.
I think age brings humility. Now,
Yeah.
if you can go with an open heart, open giving heart, and you have humility in the early stages of your career, even better, because that's
Sure.
when you're leaving the most impressions with people. Our reputations precede us. They
Yeah.
truly do. And it takes 20 years to develop a reputation, and it takes 1 second to destroy it. So we really,
Amen.
God, have to be careful.
Yeah, you do. Like, you know, it's remarkable that you don't have kids because you have the demeanor of a really enthusiastic father. It's great. I mean, it's cool, you know, and you also talk about this being a spark plug for those kids. And I think having watched what you do, you really are a spark plug for grown-up kids, you know, drummers, especially, you know,
Well,
I
we're
think
kids, you know,
we
we're like,
are, yeah, you never have to change that mindset. I think we have a mutual pal here, Mike Snyder, here on YouTube chatting here. He's a big kid as well, man. That guy, it's amazing to me, how youthful his energy is. But I was going to say, we all know people in the industry, right, that have been around for a long time. They become curmudgeons, and you know, you just think, wow, it's sad that that person has lost the fire. They lost what made them really love what they do. And you seem to have sort of rituals that you go through. I would imagine that you've got sort of rituals to be able to maintain the appreciation for what you have. Do you have like a daily ritual that you go through to kind of get your day started right?
well, I have a friend of mine, Jimmy Pemberton. He's a killer entrepreneur, businessman, business coach, drummer. We've known each other for a long time. I love his ritual. Like, and I'm sure this is public record. He's like, yeah, man, I get up, he forces water. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because we're almost all perpetually dehydrated.
Right.
Like, I'm feeling dehydrated right now because I drank too much coffee today.
Sure.
The first thing he does is he forces water in the morning, and then he does his 1 hour workout. So you get that out of the way. Because let's face it, sometimes if you don't get that out of the way,
It doesn't
life will
happen.
happen, and then you don't get it in.
Right.
And when you're trying to exercise, at least from experimenting with diet and exercise all these years, when I do it consistently every single day is when I feel amazing, right? So I
Okay.
try to get that done. And then he journals, right? And so I'm like, man, this is great advice for anyone. So having some sort of a journal or a diary.
Yeah.
Um, and then, I have like some meditation apps. I don't do them every day, but I feel
Sure.
like exercise itself is meditative,
Yeah.
even just listening to a podcast. We have no excuse now to like not be learning, because we can
Right.
learn on the go with all these millions of podcasts.
Right.
So I subscribe to a million podcasts, and like that's what I do when I'm running or working
Yeah.
out. So, but no, I just every day I try to my girlfriend and I, we have a thing where we're trying to be uh, grateful for things every day.
Yeah.
And we get exercise together every day.
That's
We have
cool.
meals together, and we watch
It's,
sunsets together. And I like to, in times like this, I've been catching up on my reading. Of course, there's a million things to watch on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. The list goes on there.
yeah.
And
Right.
and then, getting sticks in my hand. And I've been laying off that a little. Sometimes I'll panic. Like I won't pick up the sticks for 2 weeks, and I'll be like, oh my God, I hope I remember how to play the drums.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and then I'll get booked on a recording session, and I'm like, duh,
Yeah.
there's like so much muscle memory and time in the trenches of doing this for so what is it, 1976 to now? It's like 44
Yeah.
years,
Man. Crazy.
and
Crazy.
it's I mean, I don't know when you started playing, but I mean, it's like there's a lot of muscle memory there.
Yeah. Yeah. It does not go away. I think the fluidity, takes a little bit of time to get back in. I know, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Talking about losing the fire, my last gig was late February, played up in Vancouver, BC. And
Yeah.
that's when all things shut down.
Yeah.
The gigs that we had that were popping up, drive-in concerts and those kind of festivals that were slated, they were testing some out and they didn't work. So they all got canceled.
Yeah.
The enthusiasm to sit down in my place and play has been really subdued because I miss the same thing you talked about. I miss the interactivity of my bandmates and the people at the shows and the vibe of the stage. And it's not that I mind practicing on my own. I mean, I know that sort of a ritualistic thing, but that's not what drives me. That's not what I thrive on. That's not what fulfills me, And I think about identity loss in this time. That's where a lot of my musician friends have really struggled, and where it really started to get me too. I realized, wow, you know what? well, although I've been blessed, actually, I've been touring as a drummer forever, but I also have a web business that I run on the
Oh,
road.
great.
And it's a great thing. I mean, at this point, right, it's nice to have both opportunities, but I've always been identified. I identify as a drummer, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And really, without being out there doing what I love to do and what I feel like my life's purpose is, that was where I have to really watch where my emotional state is to not sort of get in a funk, and I got to look at, all right, the forward moving positive things, affirmations, and people that I sort of associate with, I'm trying to make sure that I don't fall down this hole.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm grateful for so much right now. You talked about the gratitude, and I've got a
Sure.
little 3-minute journal thing that I do in the morning that just says, I'm going to let go of, I'm grateful for, and I'm going to focus on. Those are the 3 things. I can do it in 3 minutes in the morning. And at least it's the first thing out of my brain because I start getting resentful and judgmental if I'm like cranky right now, and I want to let go
Well,
of
that
that
sounds
stuff.
like a great thing. That it's a great ritual to have. It doesn't take very long, and it resets your mind and for your whole day, because you're going into the day not thinking about what you don't have, but the things that you do have, and
Yeah.
that like, you know what I mean. So when you
Right.
count your blessings like that, it's a really amazing thing. And so what I've noticed in my friends that I've been visiting with in the the last 6 months, drummer friends, there's 2 schools of thought. Guys that are like doubling down or using the times to like, I'm finally going to get my double bass, double stroke roll together. Okay, when are you going to use that? Thomas Lang uses it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In
I love
clinics.
love him to death, right? So, but like, God, at this point, it doesn't interest me. I like Liv and I were talking about it. We're like band drummers. Like I
Yeah.
want to like play on a song, or I want to play with the band. So as long as I have the chops to do that, and then if I go to do clinics and stuff, the first thing that goes are the small
Yeah.
twitch muscles. So
Yeah.
ding digga ding digga ding digga, that stuff. And so, but it comes back after like one day, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't been spending a lot of time on the pad, but I'm musically immersed. I'm always playing in my mind. I'm soloing in my mind. Teaching helps keep me sharp. And if you're looking for something different to do besides just being on a set of drums, you can crank up your listening vocabulary. So like hit like Google top disco records from the 70s. Boom. Top
Yeah.
top 100 jazz recordings. And then you could start being methodical, maybe do some transcriptions,
Right.
read famous musician autobiographies. This is a time where you can double down on some things that you will benefit from, that will help your career, but doesn't necessarily have to be you going into a practice room every day, going through hi-hat subdivisions against a jazz ride cymbal pattern.
Right. I mean, it's beautiful advice. I mean, it sounds to me too that, you've talked to people about that sort of phase that they're going through at this point. And, it's stuff that you talk to people about without a pandemic. Sometimes people just hit writer's block, or they get, in their funk. But I think, it's sort of unprecedented times right now.
Oh yeah, that's the word. Everyone loves that word.
Unprecedented. Yeah, I know that's it's a buzzword, but there's no other way to put it. Right. I mean,
You're
really,
right.
that's, but it kind of gives you a pass, because at this point, then you have an excuse at least for saying, okay, I don't have an answer. I can speculate about when it's all going to return, but at the end of the day, I got to just appreciate what I've got right now and go after it. I'd love to maybe just have you, there was tons of stuff that I wanted to talk to you about, but I may just have you ask if you could wrap up with what you foresee your legacy being. What do you want it to be?
Wow, man, that's an incredible question. Well, my good friend Vic Salazar. Everybody knows Vic as the backbone of the Chicago music scene. There isn't a guy, he knows everyone.
Yeah.
And if somebody comes through Chicago, that Windy City, that's an epic music scene. And there is Vic Salazar at everyone's gig,
right.
7 nights a week. He is on the town. And if somebody cracks a cymbal or forgets something, boom, he's there. So we became fast friends. I love the guy. And he told me right about 44 years old, 45 years old, he said, Rich, you have enough to say, you've lived enough with your instrument. You, much like our friend Todd Sucherman, you should put out a DVD. And DVDs were dying. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do this drumming in the modern world thing. And so far, it's everything I know about drumming. And so like I created that. And so I'm hoping that it's still holding up 5 years later. I mean, my hair is not died anymore, and I'm wearing different clothes. I lost a wallet chain, but it's for the most part, I still play drums like that. So people, if they go to drumminginthemodernworld.com, it's a fun little training system. And I use so many pricing structures over the years, because some people will create like training products and they'll price them at like $1,000 to learn Pro Tools or underwater basket weaving, or and so for drummers, those price points were not working. So I finally settled on all these years, $99. You can have this thing forever. So I kind of have that. And then my books, I'm going to try to keep on cranking out books, and I want to keep on speaking. And then, I've been acting for 5 years, and, the last 6 months I've been acting 3 to 4 hours a day, every single day. And
VO stuff
online. Yeah, like online classes.
Yeah.
So I do acting classes with all these people in Los Angeles who their only focus is being an actor, which makes you rise to their level, right?
Certainly.
Because they have that thing. And so that's been really great. So really the sky is the limit. I just want to continue to, play drums, play with my band, record everything that I'm doing right now. I just kind of want to keep doing on a higher and higher level and keep letting it evolve. And then hopefully people will, like when I'm on my deathbed, they'll look back and be like, nice guy, fun guy. He encouraged me. Loved his backbeat. You know what I mean? It's like all this stuff that we do, all the stuff that I learned in college. Still, the one thing that I had before I even went to college was just a wicked backbeat.
Yeah.
And if you can slam 2 and 4 at different dynamic levels and control tempo and play a good feel for 3.5 minutes, people are going to want to play music.
Yeah, you're going to be working for sure, man.
So hopefully people will be like the backbeat, because you can't miss it. It's way up here. Or the guys that I played music with were like, man, it was always fun playing music with Redmond. I really don't know much how we can ask for, like when you move on, hopefully people will have 99% positive things to say about what we shared together on this planet, because we're only here for a short period of time. And I just turned 50 and it goes fast. It's like, well, how did this happen? I was 7 years old and I was playing out of my little Joel Rothman book.
Right.
And then next thing you know, you're like, wow,
when was your 50th?
July 25th.
Wow, just about a month ago. Happy birthday, man. That's
Thanks,
awesome.
Partner.
Yeah, mine's coming up in October as well. So we're we're in the hood. I love the legacy. I love the attention, the focus, and the humility, man. I just think everything I heard about you is spot on. And I'll make sure too, but aside from drumming in the modern world, I want to make sure, I'm just going to share this really quick with folks so they know as they're watching. If you go to richredmond.com, this site has so much. It's a really well-constructed website. It's got everything. It's got his speaking and his drumming and his acting and the books that he's written, the podcast.
Oh, the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, of course, subscribe to his podcast. And while you're there, subscribe to this one if you've not done so already. So on this YouTube channel, if you subscribe to All Access Live with Kevin Rankin, you can do it here. You can also go to iTunes and subscribe there. And you can shop. But you can also book Rich for sessions. So right now, while you're waiting for live music to come back out, make sure that you go to richredmond.com and book this guy. You can have this world-class artist on your records. I think it's just really nice, man, to meet other cats, friends in the business that are really focused on just making their environment better, and the conversation I saw you have with Lib, I have never met him. I watched the Hired Gun documentary and it broke my heart like everybody else. My 21-year-old son's a drummer and I took him to go see it. And Glenn Sobel is a dear friend of mine. So I was loving that he has some great footage in there. A lot of friends that we both have, I think, in that documentary. But the Liberty DeVito clip and his experience with Billy Joel was heart-wrenching. And it was also a reality check for what this business can hold, And it looks like he's really done a great job of maintaining an attitude that is positive and productive. It's not like he's just sat at home and lamented the fact that
no, he's got 2 bands and his daughters are successful and he lives in one of the greatest cities in the world. And there's this, man, we all have so much to be thankful for, man.
And perspective is a big part of it, man, because you could either choose to you know, you could either choose to let it, you know, affect you in a negative or positive way. And I'm grateful to see him do that. You know, like I said, he and I are discussing about having him on the show.
Oh,
Your
yeah, he's
stories
great.
are amazing. And I think I just wanted to tell you how proud I am and
Oh, man.
inspiring you are. Man, folks, hit richredmond.com. I'll put the link to it in the archive on my website at accesskevin.com. And then when you and I get a chance, you know what?
We're going to throw down, man.
We have to. I've never been to Nashville. Can you believe it? I
Yeah,
mean,
you
dude,
got to come. It's like when it's safe. Right now, it's a hotbed, but
yeah.
I mean, this is a city that's all about three chords and truth, and people telling stories of the heartland, and it's easy to connect and meet people. The entire industry is on 4th Street, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th Avenue. All the clubs are pretty central. There's another area of town called Berry Hill that's kind of becoming the new Music Row. It's just a great place, you know, whether you're writing songs or you want to be a song plugger or you want to work at a publishing company or you want to drive a tour bus, you want to be a chef for a touring band, you want to manage a studio. There's work for all sorts of aspects of the music business here because we have that machinery. As Taylor Swift, her label, Big Machine Records, you know, she was on that label forever. This is what we have. We have the big machinery that kind of makes it all work. But I'm so easy to find. And if people go to richredmond.com, I have a gift for everyone. You just go to the store page. It's either store or shop. You click on it and all the Jason Aldean records are fully transcribed and you could download all those transcriptions for free. So if you're a drummer that wants to work on that style, or you're a teacher, or say you're in college and you want to do like a recital piece and you want to play along with the track, but also prove to your teacher that you can read it, it's all there for free.
That is so cool. Wow. This is awesome. There's great stuff at the shop page. I see you and Michael Berg out there showing off your Michael Berg, Humes and Berg cases.
We got to get that case happening. Yeah, we got to get that thing going for Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, good luck on your surgery this week, man. I'm interested to hear how this goes, and and congrats to your girlfriend for taking care of you. And man, thank you for spending the afternoon with me. I'm really, really glad to meet you. It's
You're
wonderful.
Super positive, awesome guy, Kevin. I encourage all your listeners to subscribe, share, rate, and review. It's what I say. Subscribe, share, rate, and review. And you're doing a great thing. And you've already got a super big body of work here, man. So just keep doing it.
Thank you so much, man. Listen, you have a beautiful week. Good luck with the surgery. Let me know how it goes. And folks, if you're watching, again, subscribe, go to richredmond.com. Thanks to 5 Star Guitars for helping us out and for Audix microphones. We will see you guys later this week. And Rich Redmond, thanks again, my friend. Stay safe. We'll talk to you later, buddy.
Okay, brother.
Take care.